Hare Krishna. So, greetings um, from New Jersey, and I'll be heading to the Rizbal's for lunch, and then Patrick will pick me up and take me to Super Soul. It's always nice to be there, and then we'll have a program on Monday. And then Wednesday I go to Boca Raton, Lakshmi Shringa and Gokula Priya, always nice. And then we'll go to Colombia, and this time I've organized more preaching outside, so I'm pretty excited about that, and Bogota. And then on the 11th, we have the Shringa Dev at Jai Subhadra's. On the 18th, we shifted the program to New York. Metro Mantra Sanga and myself, we're going to host Śrī Prem Priyojan, who's a phenomenal scholar and Vaishnav. So, younger man, but wow, is he learned. Maybe you saw him in Namras, so we're excited for that. And then our retreat is the 20th to 22nd with Raghunath and myself. I had asked Jai Jagannath in India if he wants to go, and he said, yeah, he loves to be with all of you. So I just have to confirm that. But we're all excited for that too. Okay. I'm doing this also on Wednesday. It's just better for me to just continuous. So I'm going to start where we are, but I'm going to go back. Okay, reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 2, Chapter 1, Text 102. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Gopa-kumāra uvāca. Atretihāsā bahavo. Vidyante thāpi kathyate. Sva-vṛttam evānusmṛtya. Mohādāv saṅgatam. Śrī Gopa-kumāra said, there are many historical accounts relevant to this topic, but I'm going to tell you my own story, including recollections of what occurred at times when I was bewildered by ecstasy and other distractions. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasade Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, let me get to my spot here. So I'm really enjoying this, and I'm teaching a few different classes on this to different people. So I get to discuss different parts of the book. But it's really nice just getting the whole story down. It's such a nice thing to keep in your... So I'm going to go back to the beginning and give not more than a 2-minute summary, at least coming up to this chapter. Sanatana Goswami's mission to give the topmost thing. He brilliantly does this by relating this story of a summary of the Bhagavatam by Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta to his mother at the end of her life, at end of his life. And it's in terms of Narada finding the topmost recipient of Krishna's devotees. And in his journey, he parallels the stages of the Bhagavatam, levels of realization that comes up to the gopis. Then somehow or other, there's this concept, and I'm conceptualizing it. I haven't really read it anywhere, but somehow or other to solidify that idea for Mother Uttara and for us to really understand Braja Bhakti, to understand the glories of the gopis, you also have to understand the place where these topmost devotees live, Vrindavan. And again, the place is just an external manifestation of your consciousness. And this is what Uttara says. I want to know about the place. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta is very excited to explain that. And he does it, again, there's this concept. He can do it in many, many ways, but story form is very powerful, because a story kind of moves your heart, intrigues you in different ways, keeps your attention, opens your heart so that these deep philosophical messages can come. So he tells the story of this Brahmin whose family originally is from Mathura, but living someplace else, who's simple and gets this mantra, the Gopal mantra, and then having this spiritual urge tries to find a community and practice to nourish it. And somehow or other, there's something very special going on here. Because in our spiritual practice, it's our practice, and then it's how God is moving the world to move us forward in that practice. These things are going on. And this is called the transcendental system. And it's really difficult to actually, you can't understand the inconceivable will of the Lord. But sometimes his mercy comes in the challenge and the difficulty we have, and sometimes it comes in incredible opportunities to meet Vaishnavas and get instructions and meet the right people, etc. But it's all connected. Krishna is trying to open our heart and consciousness so that the contact with him will have the maximum effect. Prema pumarta mahan. The energy between two beings in relationship, prema, between us and God is prema. So to really feel that, and we kind of filter it by our ishad upe tasya, by turning away from God, by viparyosmati, by our false ego. So it's a question of taking away and giving. Mukta hidva yata rupam surupena vivastita. What liberation means, muktir hidva katyate. The external has to be removed and your own identity has to be established. So which of these is going on in our life? The taking away or the giving, and in what order? We really can't understand the God's will. And remember, our life is just a fraction of existence, a fraction of eternal existence from the. So what we look at is the all in all. So why am I going through this? But from the cosmic standpoint, it's like blip, blip, boom. And who knows who's fortunate, who's unfortunate. You know, sometimes you go through the greatest difficulty and why me, why me, why me, why me, why me? And then your heart is open up so that Krishna could really touch your heart in a profound way. I think these recovery groups have some kind of something based on that a little bit. You know, you hit rock bottom, it's good for you. You can kind of approach God in a different way where you couldn't. And or someone may be, wow, he's got everything. Right? Look at him. He's a you know, he's got the mercy of Prabhupada. He's a big guru. He's this. He's got everything, and I'm just suffering here. And then boom, what happens? Then that person is going through an experience that's necessarily going to distance him from Krishna by Krishna's will. He needed to. Sometimes we need to go through experience to renounce that experience, to learn a lesson. So who is fortunate, who's not fortunate? You know, we can't say. I told you by fluke, absolute fluke. I told the story that, you know, somehow someone's going to upgrade my ticket to premium economy going to India. And premium economy was more costly than business class, and some people already gave. So somehow, now I'm business class. You know, now I'm business class. 50 years just in the cattle car with all you other peasants. You know, and now, wow, business class, right? And someone's business class, and then he's in the cattle cars. That's all. We can't make a judgment temporarily. Yeah. So anyway, this Brahmin, something's going on where Krishna's feeling he's kind of ready, but he has to go through this experience of being separated. So he's trying to find his tribe, his people, and somehow or other, the Krishna, the deity of his mantra itself, and Lord Shiva and Parvati, they keep on appearing to him and direct him to Vrindavan. And then when he goes to Vrindavan, and he finally winds up at a place where he hears this wailing, but actually it's this cowherd boy in ecstasy. And he finds this beautiful cowherd boy, and he thinks he was Gopal. Somehow the cowherd boy somehow recognizes him because he's somehow part of this transcendental system that Krishna is sending to enlighten him. And this cowherd boy wants to enlighten him, and he hospitality, he serves his confidence, and then this Brahmin reveals his heart and humbly inquires, which we all inquire, what is the sadhya, what is the goal, and what is the sadhana? And because he doesn't know it, he kind of almost wants to die. You know, he's just so intent that this is, so he shows his sincerity. He's so intent. He has that really this is the thing that's important to him. So obviously he has some piety. So I'm just going to go back, just read some verses, and then we'll get today. I really, and it's very, very interesting. So the Brahmin, this is these verses from 102 to 10, we'll get to that. He expresses his concern for him. And he says, all that remains for you to achieve is to see Krishna's feet. That's you've done a lot. And to do that, you have to become more attached to the saṅgatam of the names than this mantra, even. The saṅgatam, you have to, not so much attached to, and not his mantra, but the solitary thing, but to the saṅgatam of his names. You have to become more attached to that. And I described in Monday morning greetings that, I was just reading, Raghunath Bhatt goes to see Lord Chaitanya, and he's like in Puri. Then Lord Chaitanya is sending him, he's going back to Vrindavan, one of the 6 Goswamis, chapter, I think, 13 of the Antya Leela. And he gives me instruction, read the Bhagavatam and chant 24 hours a day. So you can't always get a band together. And also that the meditation and controlling the mind of japa, you strengthen your mind, and people have different tastes. So, and he says, this is the highest worship is to worship Krishna, mainly through Nam Sankirtan. So maybe we have to at least hear more kirtan tapes. And then along with reverence for the many places of Krishna's pastimes, at least in our minds. These pastimes have Leela personalities. They can reveal. This process of chanting and hearing, Prabhupada said. Because the chanting will invoke the name, form, qualities, and pastimes, and we have to hear about that. And the more we develop that, the deeper the sambandha will be. The more we understand the stories and the form of the person we're chanting, the more deep our concentration. So he tells them this. And this love of Godhead, which this prema, it's so far above dharma, karma, artha, moksha. And then he makes this point, we'll come to today, that I have to bring him to this realization. So the cowherd boy, somehow he's delegated by this transcendental system to help this Brahmin who Srimati Radharani and Krishna have thought is ready for the big jump. Ready for the big jump. And he says, somehow my own story, that will clear away his doubts. Because he has the same story of getting a mantra and not. So there's this idea, again, a common theme, I can repeat it. There's the potency of the object, independent of our understanding. But without understanding, our consciousness is not open to feel the full effect. If we're innocent, we can get a lot. Krishna may surprise us. Boom. Our consciousness is opened by humility somehow, by seeking, by our lives. Are down and out, have nothing else in life but Krishna. But he says, my story, it's so relevant. This is the way we will experience. Just like the Journey Home, great book for that. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta Swami. Raghunath's biography is also nice for people in the similar kind of hardcore, not more than that, but that especially. But then he says, this is so disapproved by spiritual authorities because we don't want to put ourselves in the center. But nothing else will bring about as good fortune. So for preaching, I'll have to take the risk, and I'll tell my story, not in terms of me being the hero, but as a service. And then so he decided, I will tell this, and somehow he starts to speak, but with great authority. This is not an ordinary, obviously, not just an ordinary gwala shoveling cow dung, which is nice, but he's more than that. So then the verse we did today is so interesting. It says, he says, now Gopa-kumāra is speaking. This is who it is. There are many historical accounts relevant to this topic, but I'm going to tell you my own story, including recollections of what occurred at times when I was bewildered by ecstasy and other distractions. So these type of things, they're empowered by Krishna beyond our ability. Because he's telling it. I'm wondering somehow how people tell their own story or tell stories sometimes where they're not even there. Krishna's Kaviraj telling the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and there's all kinds of things that are going on that you figure, how does he know? There's another level. And anyone who speaks sincerely Krishna consciousness realizes that there's another level. Sarvasya chaham hidisani vishto matasmitir jnanam aponacha. I am situated in everyone's heart, and for me comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And so the purport, I don't like to read purports because you're speaking to an audience and the speaker is gearing it to their understanding. The purports are meant to be read by an individual and digested and thought about. But these are such good purports, and I think they're so clear and essential. So there are many ancient historical accounts about what certain people did and said to one another that may be useful in explaining how to determine the best goal of life and the means to achieve it. Sadhya sadhana. The goal, these accounts are called itihāsas. Then it's a verse, a text that consists of narrations of past events and includes instructions about religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation is called itihāsā. Gopa-kumāra's plan, however, is to tell his own history. So generally, this is not done. Of all forms of evidence for establishing the truth, the experience of one's life is the strongest. I started giving seminars in the yoga world. I read this book, Communications for a Change, by Andy Stanley. And he said, when you give a presentation, the first thing you have to do is introduce yourself to the audience in relationship to the topic you are speaking. That's very, very powerful, your own experience. So, thus when Gopa-kumāra frankly reveals the events of his life, the Brahmin should be persuaded of the higher truth that Gopa-kumāra has grasped. On occasion, this is so interesting, Gopa-kumāra was unaware of what was going on around him because the overflowing of his love for the Supreme Lord disturbed his external perception. Even so, by his virtue of his advanced self-realization, he can now recollect even the details of events of which he was unconscious when they occurred. This to me explains a lot about Vaishnav, the Chaitanya Charitamrta, and explaining everything and between two people and secrets, and and then you're recalling it. Of course, some things can just be repeated, but some things it doesn't seem that way. Many of these personal events are also too confidential to discuss freely in public, and Gopa-kumāra may be somewhat embarrassed to mention them. He feels obliged, however, to do everything he can to help enlighten the Brahmin. As Gopa-kumāra will tell the Brahmin in the last chapter of the book, just see, I have told you everything that happened to me and everything done by the Lord and his devotees, even that which is extremely confidential. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta 7274. So now he tells the story. Gopala Vritta Vaishyasya Govardhan Nivasina Putroham Idrisho Bala Purugas Charanam Nija. I am a son of a Vaishya of Govardhan who made his living as a cowherd. As a young boy of that community, I used to tend my own cows. What to speak that Krishna has that occupation? It just seems so much more simple than the lives we lead. It's taking care of the cows and going herding with the cows. In our sophisticated lives, driving at breakneck speed with cars and planes and gadgets and so many things. And I always tell the story, when I came back from India after 3 years and my parents took me to the supermarket, it was the first time I saw that you could register something by a code and press it on the counter. Before that, the guy would just, I remember my grandfather's best friend, Maya, M-E-Y-E-R, not M-A-Y-A, his best friend Maya, he had a little grocery. And, that was the life when people had little stores, right? And the other friend owned the candy store. Around the corner where you can get an egg cream. It had no eggs in it, but somehow the best drink in New York was an egg cream. Yeah. And used to go in his little grocery. Big wooden barrel with pickles, cucumber pickles. And he had a paper bag. They were cutting edge. They were cutting edge. Way back there. He had brown paper bags. He had a pencil. And he would write down the numbers. And he was so proud how quickly he could add them up. So when I saw this, I was shocked, and I said, I told this story many times, things have advanced so much. But then I caught myself as a fanatic brahmachari. This is just before I took sannyas. And I said, but the quality of life hasn't improved. And I'm just thinking, when I grew up, we knew everybody on our block. Now, and people know no one. We knew everyone on our block. You wanted to play some game, we had 12 houses on each side of the blocks, 50 by 100 plots, Canarsie. And we just ring the bell. You get a whole bunch of guys together. Yeah. So, it seems so nice. Tasmin Govardhane Krishna Tire Vrindavane Tvicha Matare Mandale Bale Shaman Vipravarastita. O best of learned Brahmins, I stay in the company of other boys there at Govardhan, here in Vrindavan on the bank of the Jamuna, and various other places in the district of Mathura. So that itself. He begins his story, which will continue now. And Prabhupada, it's discussing the purport. Of course, the Vaishya has 4 occupations: trade, banking, farming, and cow protection. Cow protection is the best because all you have to do is herd the cows. Agriculture, you got to till the land. And this is actually considered sinful. Sinful in the sense that when Adam was cursed out of the Garden of Eden, he said, now you have to till the land. Before things would just grow. So a little more work. So as the history unfolds, we shall find out that although a long time has passed since Gopa-kumāra was an innocent boy at Govardhan, he has not aged at all. As explained later, this was due to a blessing given by his spiritual master. Quote, by the potency of this mantra, may you live a long time, may you always have the form of a cowherd boy, and may you develop the right mentality for tasting the mantra's fruit. That's it, the right mentality for tasting the fruit. Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta 21191. Gopa-kumāra's tending a herd of his own cows means that his family was relatively well-to-do and independent. In the course of doing his work, he wandered over the area within the 20 yojana circumference of Mathura Mandala. Although the places he used for cow herding, among the places, his special favorites were Govardhan, the forest of Vrindavan, and the shores of the Jamuna. Sometimes he went to other locations in the Dham, like Mahavan, but according to one's transcendental opinion, Vrajabhumi consists of nothing but Govardhan, Vrindavan, and Jamuna, since these three places pervade the entire Dham. In any case, there is no place outside of Vrajadham where a cowherd boy can get real benefit from his occupation. Gopa-kumāra addressed his new student by saying, O learned, best of the Brahmins, because the student hails from the Brahmin community of Mathura. Vanamadye cha pashyamo nityam ekam dvajottamam divyamurtim paratyādyam paryantantam itastata. In the forest, we regularly saw a certain first-class Brahmin wandering from place to place. He was very renounced, and his body appeared like that of a god. So first-class Brahmin, piety, beautiful. And his body was golden and very beautiful. Kaustubha had a theory of studying Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta that this was Lord Chaitanya, but I was with Niranjan Swami and others said, no, this cannot be, and they explained why, and Śrī Swami, but it's interesting that he appeared like that of a god. Kirtayantam mahum Krishnam japa jnana ritam kvachit nityantam kvapi gayantam kvapi hasya param kvachit. He was always chanting the glories of Krishna. Sometimes he sang and sometimes he danced, sometimes absorbed in meditation. He chanted his mantra to himself, and sometimes he gave himself to laughter. Meditating on the pastimes, somehow it would externally manifest. But again, I'm still, because I'm reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita, story of Raghunath Das, and he chanting 24 hours a day and hearing the Bhagavatam, and very soon you will see Krishna. He told to Raghunath Bhatt. So this is very, so we see these advanced devotees. Purport, the outstanding characteristic of this Brahmin that he always vibrated Krishna's glories, either with the two-syllable name Krishna or with other names of the personality of Godhead. He would sing these names sweetly in various ways. He sometimes appeared withdrawn into his private japa and dhyan, which he dutifully performed daily, even though he was already perfect in chanting the holy names. As the tantras prescribe, even a person who has perfected the chanting of his mantra should continue to perform regular worship through japa and dhyan to show gratitude to his spiritual benefactors. Quote, even if one has perfected his mantra and is completely pure in heart, he should still worship the Lord at the three junctures of the day by the method prescribed, or at least at one of these three times he should do this worship, and 108 times he should chant japa of his mantra. End quote. Doesn't say where it's from. When the Brahmin seemed withdrawn, intent on his prescribed chanting and meditation, in fact, his outward senses went inactive, not because he was controlling them out of duty, but because ecstatic love was dwelling up within him. So vairagya means you're withdrawing your senses from the object. So that's vairagya, without attachment. It's going out, but you're bringing them in. But he was so ecstatic within that he could hardly go out. Vikroshantam kvichid bhūmau, skalantam kvapi mattavat, lutantam bhuvi kutrapi, rudantam kvachid uchakai. Sometimes he shouted or loudly sobbed, or stumbled and fell to the ground, or rolled about on the ground like a madman. Evānusmṛtya sapriya nama krita jutanuraga. This is Vishamyan patitam kvapi shlishma lashashru dharya pankayantam kavan varma bhajamsi mittavat kvichit. Sometimes he fell unconscious and lay still like a corpse, the flood of his mucus, saliva, and tears turning the dust of the cow's path into mud. Purport: because the Brahmin was practicing such intense chanting of the holy names, he would sometimes feel joy so immense that he would lose outward consciousness. Sometimes he would collapse without wetting the ground, as described here, and then he would appear to have died. Kautukena vayambala yamo mum vikshitum sada Śrī Gopa-kumāra no labha namati bhaktita. Out of curiosity, we cowherd boys would often come to look at him. But when he saw us in front of him, he would bow down to us with devotion. But he proudly had great respect for the boys, despite their having no special respect for him. Gadam ashlishyati premna svangageshu chachumbitam pratiyaktum nashaknoti madrasham priya bandhuvat. He would heartily embrace us and affectionately cover us with kisses, as if we were his best friends. He was unable to give up our company. Purport: immersed in Krishna prem, this Brahmana was attracted to these village boys because they resembled young Krishna and his cowherd friends. Priyabandhu has several meanings: best friends, close relatives, most dear devotees of the Lord, and the Supreme Lord who is dear to his devotees. Priyabandhavat, as if they were so close to him, he had such affection for them. Maya Gora Sadanadi Sevyasau Prasadita Ekada Jamuna Tire Prapyalingya Jagadamam. He was pleased with my services, like giving gifts of milk products. One day, meeting me on the shore of the Jamuna, he embraced me and spoke in this way. Purport. So there's a little reading. We're almost finished for today, so hold on. Gopa-kumāra gave his new friend presents of milk, yogurt, and other milk products, and would also carry his water pot and follow him around. This kind of voluntary service pleased the great soul, who would be disposed to give the boy his mercy. Vatsatvam sakalabhishta siddhim ichasi chedimum prasadam jagat ishyasya snatvat keshyam grihanyamat. My dear child, if you want to fulfill all your desires, then please bathe at Keshi-ghat and then accept from me this mercy of the Lord of the universe. Purport: normally we consider the mercy of the Supreme Lord something intangible, but the saintly Brahmin called it this mercy as if it were a tangible object in front of him. He told Gopa-kumāra, just take it from me, as literally placing it in his hands. Evam mitam bhavan mantram snatayo paddi deshame purna kamo napekshopi sadayalu sharomani. Thus, after I bathed, he imparted me the same mantra you are chanting, although he was fully satisfied in himself and indifferent to material things. He was the crest jewel of all compassionate souls. Wow. Dayalu Shiromani, the crest jewel of all compassionate souls. 1 second. One second. Purport: since Gopa-kumāra and his student have been initiated into the same mantra, their relationship should be very friendly. When Gopa-kumāra got his mantra, he should not have thought that this was his guru's way of reciprocating the gifts of buttermilk and yogurt. His guru, being fully satisfied, did not need the service. Only out of his infinite compassion for the fallen souls did the guru give Gopa-kumāra his mercy. So again, objects have their greatest value in love. If their beauty and fragrance and color and taste and touch are a manifestation of your love, then those objects have maximum value. So he wasn't getting these objects, the guru of Gopa-kumāra wasn't getting them, because this is what satisfied him. What satisfied him was the love. And then, therefore, he reciprocated. Again, I mentioned many times, Prabhupada simply said, Krishna is responsive. He does not have the defect of impersonality. He was about to explain the method of worshiping with the mantra, but as soon as he mentioned the object of meditation, he was overcome by pure love of God, became confused, and started crying like a woman separated from her lover. Puja vidim sikshayuntum Deyam ucharayam jape prema kula, agitated by prema, gato mohan, and getting bewildered. Prema kulo, agitated by pure love, becoming bewildered. Rudam virahini eva, as if it was a woman crying emotionally. Purport: Gopa-kumāra's guru had the instructions for properly using the mantra just on the tip of his tongues. He was about to tell Gopa-kumāra how to mark the body with the syllables of the mantra, how to meditate systematically on the meaning of the mantra, and all the other details for reciting the mantra in worship. But as soon as he started to describe the beautiful form of Sriman Madan Gopal, a sudden ecstasy caught hold of him, and crying like a lovesick woman, remembering her distant lover, he lost his train of thought. So the Brahmin from Mathura, who got the mantra from Devi, didn't get any instructions. And Gopa-kumāra's same example, he gets this mantra and he takes it with faith. but his guru is too ecstatic to explain it. Okay, we'll just read a few more verses. When he regained normal consciousness, I was afraid to ask him anything. He stood up and went away distressed, and after that he was nowhere to be found. I had no idea what this mantra was, what I received, what fruit it was chanting would bear, or even how the mantra was to be practiced. Simply out of respect for the Brahmin's words, I constantly murmured this mantra in a secluded place, unseen by others. I chanted it just out of curiosity. By the influence of that great person, even such aimless chanting purified my mind, and I developed faith in the mantra. Contemplating my guru's words, I understood the mantra to be the means for achieving the Lord of the universe. Thus I became satisfied and absorbed in chanting. I became eager to know who this Lord of the universe was and when I might be able to see him. With this as my aspiration, I abandoned my homes and other attachments and went to the bank of the Ganga. So now we'll follow Gopa-kumāra's journey, which will satisfy the inquiry of Uttara because he's going to go from one place to one place. So just as in the first book, we got the gradations of bhakti and the elevation of people's consciousness, and we get to understand the difference. The same thing will happen with the different abodes of the Lord. He'll go from one to another, where only he can be satisfied in heart with Braj. Okay. Okay, Jamuna Jaya.
Hare Krishna Raj. Yeah. Thank you for class. I have to say I'm intrigued. If it wasn't Lord Chaitanya, who was that? I have to say I'm left wondering who is this golden person. I'm intrigued by that. But
yeah, I somehow I think I never read this book, or I read it and I forgot it. So it's unfolding to me too.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see if we see. But what really struck me today is when the point of who is fortunate and who's not fortunate, we really don't know. It's how is Krishna playing out in their lives, and that's always something really to be considered. It's not something I would ever say to somebody who's going through a hard time. Maybe you're fortunate, but for my own self, when I look at my challenges, is it a challenge or is just is Krishna really giving me this opportunity and this way to go within? So I really appreciated that a lot.
Okay.
Thank you, Raj.
I'm coming to Colombia on the 28th, and I'll stay in Cali to the 7th, and then Bogota. I see Catalina Maya, so hopefully I'll get to see you there. And yeah, okay. Anybody else, Gail?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the class. Yeah, I'm just saying Hare Krishna today.
Whew, wow. Krishna's mercy. Okay. Haribo, anybody else like to say hello?
Hare Krishna Gurudev.
Jai Shri Radhe.
Thank you so much for the class. I just sincerely wanted to express that the description of feelings of ecstasy scares me always. The moment that describes that fluids and tears and mucus and saliva were turning dust into dirt is just creating such a terrifying picture in my mind all the time. I know my consciousness is totally not ready to perceive the ecstasy of transcendental person. But I just wanted to say it.
Anyway, I will restrict my mercy to you, so it's just all internal. Okay. And I'm booked for Russia from the 14th July to the 5th of August. So
that's great.
4th of August, but I'm thinking of switching it back to the 5th. Yavat Sundari, Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for the class. Thank you.
Okay. Your daughter is happy?
Yeah, she seems happy. So far, so good, Maharaj.
Then you're happy.
Yeah, I'm happy as well. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Thank you
Yeah.
for all you've done for us, and thank you for your mercy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Thanks for the class.
Oh, good. Okay. Even in your busy spiritual social life there in Gainesville, you have time to come to my class.
Of course, Maharaj. On Sundays I can, but on Wednesdays there are Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta classes that I need to attend here.
Yeah,
So
I know, I know. Are there kirtans you go to during the week?
yeah, yesterday we went to Krishna Song Festival and it was really nice. And yeah, everything is so nice here, Maharaj. And I'm doing service at Krishna lunch. So
Oh,
uh,
great.
yeah.
Boy, I can't believe all the mercy that's flowing. It's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
The people in America, they're spoiled. They don't know. They should live in a place where you don't have these opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So for you, even to go out and open and be a devotee and serve prasadam and see all the young students and then go to a kirtan, it's amazing, right?
Yeah, it is, Maharaj. Yeah.
You wound up in the best place for you. Absolutely the best place for you. You wound up.
With your blessings, Maharaj. Thank you.
Haribo. Good. Okay. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Okay. Jai. Nice to see you.
Yes, thank you for the class.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, good.
We join sometimes. Thank you so much for the class and for your presence in our life.
Thank you. Thank you.
Я напишу о своих проблемах.
She will send you a message about your problems.
No problem. No problem. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't have enough service because she has 3 children. They have a counseling business. She serves the Maharajas and goes to every program. And she's not busy enough. So we'll see how she could. And she's got such a nice husband, professor of mathematics, but just counseling, professionally counseling people. So nice. Where is your daughter Radha?
Oh, she is at home with Lalita and Nitai. And
Tell Radha that I say Hare Krishna. Okay.
Махараджа вообще.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Haribo. All right. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Ishwari Sundari. Thank you for class.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Do you have time to talk today or sometime this week?
Tomorrow afternoon is the best.
Okay.
Or evening or afternoon sometime. Send me a message. Because today I'm traveling. Well, actually, between 2 and 4, I'll be in the car. I could.
Today?
Yeah. So let's try that. That'd be good.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But if it breaks up, I don't like to do that to people. I don't like when they do to me. They're calling from the Berkshires and it breaks up and comes in. So if that happens, we'll make it time. But it's really busy these next few days, so that would be a good time. I'm in the car.
Okay, I'll give you a call. Thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda.
And Braja.
Thank you for class.
Haribo.
Haribo.
I'll see you soon.
Yep.
Yes, we're coming right there.
Yep.
Okay, that's great. We'll see you.
All right.
Okay.
Haribo. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Himala Tarada. Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Haribo. And we meet on Thursday, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, great. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
I will see you, right? You'll come to Russia when I'm there?
Yes, I bought the ticket. Yeah.
Okay, great. That's nice. I'll see you. I look forward to it. Okay. Anybody else?
Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the class. We're waiting for you. Eagerly.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Very nice. Okay, anybody else say hello? Okay, I'm looking at the people that come and thanking you all for coming to the class. Okay. Okay, Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya.